Greetings, Avengers. My name is Erik Teren Mullins, and on this fine day, we're going to be checking out a figure made by Kotobukiya from Marvel, the Avengers. This is 1/7 Ms. Marvel. For Kotobukiya and doing the licensed Marvel thing, this is a real classic. She definitely wasn't part of their first wave, and this one, while incredible, is very petite. The waves that followed ended up having a much larger sizing. I said 1/7 because they say that, and I think that it's pretty accurate to that. You might notice something a little different about mine than what you would maybe see in many other people's. This clear, transparent base that I glued on the bottom. I was young. I didn't know what I was doing. Using a strong epoxy permanent glue from another figure's base that I really at the time felt didn't need it. And to this day, I would say Mystique still doesn't really need a base at all. This is perfect. She takes up little to no space. Just look how big this base plate was. And I really don't plan on selling Mystique, so I'm happy with things the way they turned out. However, for you out there at home wanting to order and get this figure, she doesn't come with this circular base at the bottom. Shake test is pretty good. For a character that's this dynamic, you'd think for sure she'd just keep falling over. Well, guess what? She does. But not like this. Like this, she's perfectly great, and that's because of this base that I glued on there. Did I mention the base? A lot of people that bought this figure because of how dynamic she is have leaning issues where she's falling over. But you know what the crazy secret is? The leaning issues don't stem from her attachment to this actual base plate. Maybe for some of you out there, depending on how you displayed her, but this really well-painted and sculpted rock base itself is made out of quite the malleable plastic, and with time it actually bevels and curves underneath to the point where it's not really flat anymore. And that was the issue. You could always cut a really nice fancy piece of wood and then paint it and everything to make it look like more rocks. Just know that if or when you end up getting her, this is not really going to hold up over time. And there's a lot that could be said about things holding up over time. We'll get into that a little later. Stability issues aside, her base plate looks freaking awesome. We got some great shading in here, beautiful highlights. The sculpt work is just pure insanity. And for the day and age in which this was released, I'm so incredibly impressed. We get a couple of factory mold lines here and there, but because of how everything is painted and sculpted, they're really not that noticeable. Underneath, we have all of the product advertising. However, it's not really noticeable on mine because of the base that I glued on there. That's what I did. As we go up and into her boots, I think that these are okay. I personally would have liked maybe a thick heel underneath her foot, like a solid boot that she could just kick somebody in with. This kind of feels Spider-Man smooth, and I don't know if I'm a fan of that. They're a lovely gloss, no shading or highlights, going all the way and up into her thighs. The sculpt work on them is beautiful, nice pulls and stretches in the fabric, where once they point out and connect into her skin, I'd say it's nice and resembles the comic book quite a bit. Her skin has a little bit of shading to it. Though the mold itself isn't as smooth as I would like it to be, this is a much older figure, and at her price point, get into that at the end, she has a lovely shapely behind, more so than Rogue. This comes as a surprise to me, especially considering you'd think that after Rogue absorbed her powers that maybe that's where she gets her. Going off topic. And here's where mine had a QC issue back in the day. It seems almost like it was cut, damaged, going up into her bathing suit around her behind area. Just lucky that the plastic is still black under there and it wasn't painted on. As we slowly go to the front bottom part of this bathing suit, everything is really well form-fitting. We get lovely sculpt work for the curvatures of her muscled and toned body. All of this is done in the same gloss as the boots with no shading or highlights. We're in the center, we then get this awesome Shazam logo. I freaking love this costume. It's such a cool one. Being a huge fan of DC Comics as well, I really loved Shazam, Mary Marvel, Black Adam, and this costume for Ms. Marvel. It's just such a cool homage to those DC characters. Not only is it really pretty and quite spicy, but just so dynamic. Before going all around her bodysuit, let's talk about her one accessory, and that is this scarf. This thing is done using red metallics. It's pretty, there's some shading on it here and there, and I think it really looks well sculpted. I absolutely love the fact that it doesn't just jangle on her, it's actually sculpted to fit her properly. This thing is huge, beautiful, flowing in the wind, really, really nice, but it definitely has its complications due to age, and that would be the type of plastics they used. This is sticky. Ew. And it's sticky all over this red thing, so you have to be careful if you've got any animals or whatnot. This dust is going to attach to it. It's not necessarily easy to take off, so you need to have her in a display cabinet and leave her there for the rest of her days. But she's a beautiful relic design from a bygone era that I can only hope and pray we'll get more of in the future, but the way that Marvel kind of leans with everything, maybe not. We're more likely to see Thor wearing this uniform as a figure before seeing another Ms. Marvel like this. It's just sad how true that is. Her back has amazing stretches in the fabric that really accentuate her dynamic, twisted pose, going up into her shoulder blades that look really well sculpted here too, where we then have her skin showing and we get to see her underarms, which I know so many of you simps are here for today. The skin around here is very well sculpted, beautiful shading, just looks really nice. As it goes into her gloves that have the same kind of black painted glossy material that we have on her boots, these hands look so good. It looks like she could punch a hole right through somebody. I love how well sculpted they are. No weird nails, because for some reason it seems like Kotobukiya loves to do nails designed and sculpted on them. I'm looking at you. And you're totally fine, Kat. I mean, it's sharp nail. It's part of your costume. You look great. Here comes a bit of a story time. She comes with accessories that you can attach onto her hands. It's two separate parts that kind of plug into one another, creates this flaming energy. I've lived a very wild and crazy life along many of my younger days, and I'm not really going to get into it today because that's the sort of thing that could really bring a room down, and we're not here to talk about that. Just know that it's probably why I'm quite positive as a person in general and upbeat, because life can really suck sometimes, so if you don't smile every now and then, you go crazy. Due to the fact that I never have her using them because I actually really love the sculpt work to these hands, I kind of misplaced them. Gee, I can't help but think if this has happened to me before with another Kotobukiya figure. Domino over here. And then I literally found the Deadpool like the next day. It's most probably going to be the exact same thing for her. So here's a bunch of stock photos. They look okay. They're not amazing. Like I had mentioned, I personally don't like having them on her because I think she looks good the way she is. Her neck goes into the collar of the clothing very well. It actually looks like it's clothing that she's wearing. It doesn't bevel out all weirdly. We do have a line under her jawbone attaching the face to the rest of the back of the head sculpt, but it's very flush. Extremely well done. You get to see a little bit of her ears back there, but not so much that you need to pay too much attention to the detail work, where the face itself is really well sculpted. I've always been quite a big fan of Shunya's artwork. I'd say Koto is probably the figure I have the most of in my collection, but this is due to the fact that I've been collecting for a long time. Koto was really strong in the West early on, and that just led to buying a lot of their figures, especially when they do license things like Marvel, DC, Capcom. Also the price. What you're getting here for the price that she's at, wow, it's hard to beat. We get beautiful red lipstick that's done in gloss. Her mask is matte and very well pronounced on her face. Hypergloss for the eyeballs, matte decals for her eyelashes. It almost looks like this is a doll and this would be a completely other material underneath her faceplate. Now for her hair. I remember even when I got her, I was not happy with this hair. It's done using transparencies with paint being applied on top of it, and you people follow me for a while know that I'm not particularly a fan of that. They should have just used an opaque yellow and put tons of shading all over it so it reflected comic or anime illustrations. But they didn't do that here. Gives off a bit of a dirty blonde look. It's too dark for my tastes. Though the sculpt work, of course, is absolutely phenomenal, like the rest of the sculpt work on this figure. You get all sorts of chunks and interconnections of multiple different plastics here and there for all the flowy parts, but they're so borderline seamless. Oh, you can still see them. It's just everything else is carved in fairly deep, and so it doesn't pop out at you as sorely as some other figures might. Upon her release, she was going for 6,000 yen. But look at that date. Back in 2011, the world was a very different place. And figures were really not that pricey for something that has such an amount of detail and quality. She looks absolutely beautiful, and this older costume is such a favorite of mine. I think it looks so good. Years later, they'd actually released a new figure of Ms. Marvel, but at this point, she's Captain, and she's wearing the suit kind of from the movie. The only thing I own with her more modern costume would be this little Lego minifigure right here. I think it's cool when she has the mohawk. That's really awesome. But the overall costume itself is kind of boring and generic. Had they really wanted to cover her up and hide a bit more of her spiciness, they could have still gone with the blacker suit, maybe just filled in the areas that have skin with a different color. This whole black design with the big S on the front is so bold. It's too bad that they got rid of something like that, though I can maybe understand why. I know that when Marvel got bought out by Disney, there was all sorts of weird complications going on, considering she really does harken back to a lot of that old Captain Marvel stuff. Just putting my Jean Grey by Koto that was made many years later next to her, it still looks awesome. Kotobukiya also made a sister statue, a twin sister statue, of her in her binary form. It looks really good. I think that it looks a little better in the photos than in person. I've seen it a couple of times, and I never really had the will to pull the trigger on it, especially since I just love this normal design. Though, binary does kind of look like a cool fire elemental monster girl, and I am into monster girls, so I'm surprised I didn't get it back in the day. Ms. Marvel, like Station doesn't miss. Did Koto? Maybe a little bit, but it's still a very impressive figure, especially at the original price point. In today's day and age, trying to get her on the secondary market, who knows what you're going to be paying. Prices for older Koto figures can really skyrocket up there, so if you're really not sure and you're about to spend a huge amount on getting her, I would check out maybe other reviews for her, as well as perhaps checking out the My Figure Collection webpage for her, seeing her in other people's collections. Older figures like this aren't just hard to get and kind of expensive, they don't always hold up with time, like with the issues I had mentioned to you. So if you do get her, you're going to have to buy her based off of the fact that you love Ms. Marvel and you're not necessarily getting her for resale or collectability, because unfortunately she's just not holding up the test of time. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye! Full disclosure, I'm not actually a huge Avengers fan. Oh, I love the cartoon Avengers Assemble. That cartoon was freaking awesome. And of course, there's some characters throughout the years that I just really gravitated towards, like this one-on-one figure of Wasp is so amazing. And what I have to say about her original design like this is the same as this. All black with a super bold, iconic design in the front. This is so cool. I'm much more of an X-Men fan, and when I got introduced to Ms. Marvel, this is back in like the early 90s, where she didn't really have the best thing going for her, but it's definitely thanks to her that my favorite character got to shine as brightly as she did back then. I've read a lot of Ms. Marvel things in my life, and I feel like they always struggle with kind of knowing how to write the character with her personality and her story. I will say this, there's a lot of things in Spidey that I'm not really a huge fan of, especially the way that women seem to treat him. The writers just always want to give him mean girlfriends, and I hate that. I feel like Black Cat's one of the few that treats him very well, and at the same time, she's pretty bipolar of a character. So when he started dating Captain Marvel, not only was that so fun, amazing read, and I would have loved to see them actually date for a little while, it was cool to see Spidey with somebody that's strong and extremely capable, that is actually more capable and stronger than him. That was fun. And